Hey, we're back, guys.
We just watched X-Men: The Last Stand.
Sure we did.
It's been The Last Stand. It's the third X-Men's.
Yep. Multiple X-Men's.
And a lot of people didn't like this one.
I'm fine with it.
I did not mind it. I mean, Kelsey Grammer as the Beast, so that is a lot of points in the great column.
Mm-hmm. I'm not crazy about the Phoenix plot. Like, I'm not crazy with it, but I'm not like, oh, this sucks, this is terrible.
Yeah, I was like, it didn't... Yeah, a lot of that stuff didn't do much for me, but I mean, like a lot of these heavy action comic movies, for me it's a lot about all of the little moments.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that string of great moments. And if you've got a great story connecting them, perfect, but I never feel that that's a huge necessity for these kinds of movies.
Yeah, looking at it, I have to say maybe the two plays I can think of is that not enough Wolverine. Like, it's not a Wolverine-centric story like it had been in the past.
Yeah. And people love them some Wolverine.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why they loved X-Men Origins Wolverine.
That's true. That's why it's the highest acclaimed of the X-Men movies. It's just a jewel among crap. And also, I don't know if maybe if there's a lot of fan backlash or it's just general, but if fans, I can see them if they're big like X-Men people and they know Phoenix is like this big culminating story. They sort of did a disservice by splitting the time with this mutant cure and other things, and didn't really get a chance to do Phoenix-y stuff with it. It's sort of like, which I'll get to when we get to it, but Spider-Man 3, which is the big problem.
Tried to do a lot of stuff.
And they're like, okay, well, it's a fan favorite, so we're in the third one, so we need to put in Venom, so let's just do him a huge disservice and do it really poorly. So I feel like I can see people feeling that way about Phoenix. I just never got that into X-Men, so I don't know the Phoenix story terribly well to say that. But yeah, I could see people having that. But, fun action, lots of explosions, Kelsey Grammer.
I mean, my biggest complaint is no Nightcrawler, but
Nightcrawler. I'm like, what happened? Do people stop liking him? Because at that point, I had seen the original series, and then also Nightcrawler was also funny in Evolution, X-Men Evolution, which I really enjoyed.
And from what I know him best from, the X-Men arcade game, where he was clearly the best character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A little more Colossus.
Yeah, which I enjoyed.
He didn't do a whole lot. He had a few good bits in there. Kitty Pryde here,
which I feel like Kitty Pryde's inclusion might have been because of X-Men Evolution, because she was one of the main people in that one. They had like 6 or so that they focused on, and she was one of them. And it
was a good, like, fun little girl for Bobby to be into.
Yeah, another person
instead of Rogue. Because Rogue's kind of clingy, and then also you can't touch her. So
that's the problem. They have too much. So like, okay, well, the mutant cure and Rogue's problem is like a good issue you could deal with. There's a lot of morality about curing the mutant problem.
Yeah.
But like Rogue's in like 3 scenes, and there's really no impact. There's so little impact to her decision whether or not to get the cure. They filmed it both ways. They didn't even care. The writers didn't even care. They're like, well, we'll film it both ways, and then whatever tests better, we'll just toss that in. And so ultimately they went with the theatrical version has her getting the cure, and then them holding hands.
And then there's also the Angel storyline that's
dropped,
kind of crammed in there.
Just sort of dropped. Like, we don't have to do it. They're like, okay, how are we going to make the mutant cure personal to this like businessman who makes it? Like, we'll just make his son be someone. Angel.
Yeah, and so we'll see him flying around occasionally. Like,
it's not. So there are moments.
Man, maybe I might kind of start talking myself out of this movie the more I discuss it.
Let's say if you analyze it too much, there's lots of fun action in those. Lots of fun action, explosions, mutant powers.
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's entertaining to watch, but
it's probably not as quality as a film. But you know what? One of my favorite movies on this list was Dolph Lundgren Punisher, and that was not a good film. But you know what? It was entertaining. I think the third X-Men is entertaining, and at a certain point, if a movie's entertaining you can't really complain that much. It's not like this movie is up for Oscars. It's not like they're submitting as a major.
Though it might have won an effects or editing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's not like a screenwriting or
not one of
best actor or anything. Yeah, it's so you know what? You went to the movies. You were entertained for your outrageous cost of going to the movies.
Yeah,
and that's probably about as good as you can hope for.
Which is another great thing about Marvel's recent, like the Marvel Studios movies, is that they've really stepped up
story,
and I mean
without sacrificing the entertainment factor.
Yeah, I mean in no small part, I think Christopher Nolan's, like starting with Batman Begins and Into Dark Knight, had a a hand in kind of this recent revolution of these comic book movies, where they're given a lot more story and taken more seriously.
Be careful with how you say it, though, because I don't want to say that the success of the Batman movies led into the Marvel.
No. I think
the only thing that loosened up money. That's what it is. When Batman Begins and all those movies start doing good, it creates more money, because as soon as something works in Hollywood, they do 1,000 of that.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, doing the way they're adapting Batman is totally different than the way they're doing the Marvel movies.
Absolutely, but I think
I love the Batman films. I love them; they're fantastic. But I think the Marvel movies are a much better job of doing movies of comic books. They like capture, like when I'm reading, I'm like, oh man, this feels exactly like the tone if you want to read a comic book, because I'll get some like funny jokes and some good pages, some good sight gags,
and then big 2-page spread of everyone murdering everyone.
Yeah, and that's the feeling you get when you're watching a Marvel movie. And Batman's just this really tactile, real world that Batman lives in.
Yeah, like really adapted to the screen real well. But I mean, but generally as a whole, I think comic book movies like those, because if you look at all the ones that came out in the '90s, like no one took them seriously.
Well, let's do him on DC Marathon, man. Once we get Batman Returns in '91, let's ignore all the other Batman movies.
That's the thing. Is 81, 91, and as soon as you get into like 95, Batman Forever.
Let's not talk about Joe Schumacher so much. Maybe.
And then
oh man, we're going to have to watch those.
That's when
we get to watch those for the DC Marathon.
That's when the '94 Fantastic Four could have been that. Well, that could have been a reality. It wasn't going to be.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. So, to be fair, but overall, a lot of people just say X-Men. I think the third X-Men,
Captain America from 1990.
Yeah, I say. If you maybe don't remember this well, give it another chance. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with expectations kind of in check. I think especially coming off of X2,
it's certainly much
clearly a better movie. I mean,
it's certainly a much more satisfying follow-up than Spider-Man 3. It's not like that drop. It's not Spider-Man 3 drop. It's not Batman and Robin drop. It's not anything like that. It's just not a story. The story is not as compelling, but the action and entertainment is just as high.
Yeah. Plus, also the Juggernaut.
Yeah.
I don't know how we've made it as far without mentioning the Juggernaut.
The Juggernaut bitch.
Yes.
That's his name, right? He's the Juggernaut bitch.
Yep, that's right.
How does he not have a sidekick that's the Juggernaut bitch?
I'm the Juggernaut, and this is the Juggernaut bitch.
Wait,
so you're both the Juggernaut? No. See,
I'm not calling you a bitch. You're still like a very nice person. Just hear me out. It's like a Harley Quinn. Do you read DC Comics? It's pretty fantastic. What's up?
And I gotta say, I know a lot of comic people were kind of upset about Vinnie Jones as Juggernaut, especially because the Juggernaut in the comics
they're terrible people.
Well, because the Juggernaut in the comics is like Xavier's cousin or stepbrother or something. Yeah, he's in some way related to Xavier, and there's a whole different backstory for him, and how he's portrayed in the movie isn't really like Juggernaut at all. But I could not care any less. Vinnie Jones is awesome in anything he does.
Yeah, at some point when they sat down, they're like, we're not going to continue this franchise beyond this. Like, they'll do other X-Men movies, but they're all been like Origins movies or the New Class reboot. Mm-hmm. They're never thinking like, well, we're going to go on and we're going to really get into the meaty backstory of Xavier and his brother. So why not? If you're gonna it's better than trying to fit that in there. If they would have tried to throw that in there,
another thing. Yeah,
I think it's better to have the Juggernaut as we had him than have no Juggernaut, or have the Juggernaut and then try to have them like, oh, by the way, he's Xavier's brother, but Xavier's dying, and also there's a mutant cure. And
it's kind of like if you take the Juggernaut as he's characterized in those internet videos, in the Juggernaut bitch internet videos. Like if you just take kind of that character and make him British.
So next up we have Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, which I think is
70s.
I want to say that's the last one that's not in the 2000s.
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe
all the rest are from in 2000 and forward.
So we'll see how that is. Was this one a TV pilot, TV movie, or something?
It was a TV movie.
TV movie.
I can't remember if it was going to be a pilot or not.
Okay.
I'll tell you when we're done.
Yeah, so we make it up tonight. We'll see. It depends on sleep and other things, and we have board games to play.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to make it to all 5 like we hoped.
But either way, join us next week when I will be dressed up as the Juggernaut, and Sam will be the Juggernaut bitch.